What is up, YouTube? Welcome to the Trooper's Kitchen. I'm Trooper134, and today I thought I'd take a few minutes to share with you a recipe that is the bang-up, no-fail best turkey you've ever had in your life. If you're like me, you've got multiple scars left over from Thanksgivings of days past that featured a overcooked, tasteless, dried-out turkey that made you want to swear off turkey for the rest of your life. Well, I tell you what, I'm going to share a recipe with you from tips and tricks that I've learned over the past few years that will hopefully reverse that decision and make you love turkey once again. Without any further delay, let's get started. Step number 1, give the bird a bath. Not just any bath, but a fruit juice bath. So we're going to start off with cranberry juice, orange juice, pineapple juice. So this is going to do several different things for us. Number 1, it's going to moisturize the meat. The citric acid is going to break it down and tenderize it, and then all that fruit juice is going to flavorize it. Flavorize it? If that's not a word, then it sure is now. Now let's take all that juice, dump it in the cooler, and toss in a couple of 5-pound bags of ice to keep that turkey from going bad over the next 12 to 24 hours. After its bath, we pull the bird out and we let it chill in the sink for a while. While our bird is chilling out in the sink, we're going to get our ingredients ready for the bacon butter rub. So about a ½ pound of bacon and 1 stick of unsalted butter. I'm going to cube those ingredients up, stick it in a blender, and start blending them together.
Have a nice paste.
Alright, don't forget to get in there with a spoon, kind of push that stuff down on the sides, and keep blending until we get a nice, creamy consistency. Now I'm going to pull out some of my favorite poultry ingredients to add to this bacon butter rub. You can use whatever you feel like using. I like salt, pepper, onion powder, garlic powder, a little bit of dill, a little bit of rubbed sage, some ground thyme. But like I said, you can let your imagination go wild with whatever flavors you want to add to this. You can even use commercial rubs if you wish. Add those in no particular proportions whatsoever. Then we're going to blend those ingredients in till we get that nice, smooth, creamy consistency. Oh yeah, that looks real nice. Alright, now we're coming up on probably the most important part of this entire process, and that is the spatchcock of the bird. When we leave a turkey whole, it basically has a giant cavern in the middle of it that stays cold for a long period of time because it's insulated from the heat. That means it takes longer to cook the turkey, and the longer we cook the turkey means the less flavor it's going to have and the more it's going to dry out. So basically what we're going to do now is we are going to remove the spine of the turkey, and we're going to flatten it out so it cooks faster, it cooks more even, and it retains more moisture and flavor. Alright, let's cut this bird up. Alright, so I got it in a tray so it's not leaking bird juice all over the countertop. So I'm going to come in, and like we said, we're going to remove the spine. So I'm going to take my knife and I'm going to make 2 incisions, one along each side of the spine. And we're just going to cut through that skin, cut through the flesh, all the way down to the bone. Don't worry about cutting the bone right now. We're going to use some poultry shears to finish that off. I'm just opening that skin up so I can kind of see where I'm going. Alright, now I got my handy-dandy heavy-duty poultry shears, and I'm going to use these to cut through the rib bones and the hip joint. Now, if you just got some gardening shears, you can use those. Just make extra sure that they're nice and clean before you get started, and obviously make sure they're nice and clean after you're done. So, starting at the neck, I'm going to come in, and where I made those incisions, I'm just going to cut right through those ribs. And all the way down to the rectum. Rectum? Damn near killed him! All right, and then same thing on the other side. Just come on down, cutting through those ribs right next to the spine. Now, when we get down to the hip, don't try to cut through the hip with your poultry shears. You'll probably end up breaking them. What you want to do is kind of wiggle the points back and forth until you find the joint, and then you just cut through the joint, and that's a lot easier. And same thing on that side, kind of wiggle around, find that joint, and we're just cutting through the joint, not actually trying to chop through the bone. All right, that looks real good. Nice clean cut right there. And then any little bits of skin or whatnot that's keeping that spine from hanging on, we just cut those and get that spine free and clear. Now, I mean, you can use this in, like, if you want to make some turkey stock or something, that's a perfect piece of meat for it. But other than that, that spatchcock's super easy. Last step, flip that bird over and give it a CPR compression. Oh, yeah. All right, we're going to break the rest of those ribs out and see how that bird lays real nice and flat. That's going to help it cook more evenly. At this point, I think I'm going to pull that thermostat out there. Because that's going to be useless to us, because I'm going to be using a Thermopro thermostat to tell me where my bird is. Yeah, let's pull that out. Get rid of that. That's garbage. Those things never work. With the bird properly spatchcocked, now we're going to add our bacon butter rub. So the bacon butter rub is going to continuously baste the bird as we're smoking it to flavorize and keep her nice and moist so it doesn't get, kind of dried out like a saltine cracker. So I'm just going to dip my fingers right in there and get started. So first thing I'm going to do, though, is gently separate that skin from the meat, because the first layer of bacon butter is going to go right underneath the skin. So pretty easy to get back up underneath there, and I just take a big ball of that and just kind of work it in with my fingers. Rub that in underneath the skin and get it all the way back up onto that breast, because that breast meat is what typically dries out first. So if we get that bacon butter in there, okay, it'll be protected by that heat, by the skin, and it'll just slowly melt as the bird is cooking. So I just gently kind of separate that skin out with my fingers, and then come back into the bacon butter, get another ball, work it up underneath there until I get a nice thick coat underneath that skin. Yeah, get that in there nice and thick. We made a lot of the bacon butter, so don't be afraid to get a nice thick layer in there underneath that skin. And once I'm pretty satisfied that I got enough underneath the skin, now I'm going to coat some on the outside of the skin too. And that's just super easy. Just kind of pat that on. Smear it around all over the place. Yeah, don't worry about getting that on there nice and thick either, because we'll still have plenty left. Alright, now that the turkey's fully prepped, time to fire up the smokers. We're going to open up that lid, and then I'm going to go check my hopper to make sure I got enough pellets for about 3 hours. So a lot of people ask me what flavor pellets I'm using, and I'm going to tell you right now, I don't worry about matching flavored pellets to the food that I'm smoking. You know, a lot of people obsess over like, oh, I only use this kind of wood for this kind of meat and all that, and I empty my hopper out, and you know, I have 10 different containers of all these pellets. I don't go through that. I'm going to be totally honest with you. I cannot tell the difference, and it's not just me. There's a lot of people, they can't tell the difference from what kind of wood you're using. So I just buy whatever is on sale and I mix it all together. I usually use fruit woods. I don't like mesquite all by itself. I think mesquite by itself leaves a very harsh, bitter flavor. So I usually use like orange and apple and cherry and sometimes some maple. But I just mix it all together. And I think that makes a great flavor on virtually anything that I smoke. You know, and I keep my stuff here in a gamma sealed lid just to keep the moisture off it and whatnot. But like I said, I think trying to match pellet flavor to food is just a giant waste of time. But you know what? If that's what you like doing, then have at it. I think for poultry, like a lemon wood or other sweet woods would do best. But if you like that kind of strong, bitter mesquite flavor, then I say go for it. It is your turkey. Do it your way. Now that we got some smoke showing, I'm going to go ahead and set my cook temperature. Contrary to popular smoking method, we are not going to do low and slow on the bird. All right, that is fine for like pork butts and ribs and brisket, but with poultry you want to do it relatively high, relatively fast. That'll keep that meat from drying out and becoming flavorless like a dry ass saltine. So we're going to set this at either 325 or 350. All right, now we also are cooking to temperature. We're not cooking to time. A lot of people ask me, well, how long do you think I should cook my turkey? Well, my answer is cook your turkey until it's done. And you're going to know it's done when the breast meat hits 165, but you have to have a thermometer to do that. Now, you can go check every few hours to see where your turkey's at with a manual thermometer, but remember, every time you open the door, you're losing heat. So, if you haven't already got one, I strongly recommend a Bluetooth thermometer. This is the original equipment, Thermopro Bluetooth thermometer. I have used a bunch of different Bluetooth thermometers in the past, and they have all failed me. I finally spent the money on this one, and I tell you what, I am so glad that I did. The main unit stays outside, with the probe going to be deep in the turkey breast, and then I'm going to have that smaller unit on the right with me while I'm doing chores in the house, and I can monitor its temperature in real time, and then I can also set an alert to let me know when my bird is reaching final temperature, and to let me know I need to go ahead and pull that off. So again, if you don't have one of these, I strongly recommend a Bluetooth thermometer. They are the bee's knees when you're cooking something to temperature. Alright, smoker's up to about 250 right now, and that means it's time to get this turkey cooking. Alright, so I'm going to lay it down. Breast side up. Get it on that grill right there. Get it centered inside. Get that butter back on there. Alright, take my temperature probe from my Bluetooth thermometer, and I'm putting it right in the breast, right in the thickest part of where the meat is, because once that hits 165, that means the bird is done. I don't have to have multiple probes, one in the leg, one in the breast. Once the breast has hit 165, or even a little bit before that, the bird is done. So I'm going to go in about an inch, inch and a half, let that sit, close that lid up, and let it do its thing. Ah, that's a beautiful sight. Now with the turkey in the smoker, I got one last little bit of prep work that I'm going to do while she's cooking, and that is I am going to make this honey bourbon glaze. Now you can skip over this step and you can still have an amazing turkey, but I think this honey bourbon glaze put on the turkey in the last few minutes of the cook just really just sends it right over the top. It pairs really well with the meat, gives it a sweet kind of tangy flavor on that skin, and I think it's well worth making this sauce. So here's a list of ingredients right here. I'll let you get a look at that real quick and show you how do we put it together. Put it all together, starting with a half cup of honey, half cup of bourbon or dark rum or whatever other booze you want to use, quarter cup of brown sugar coming at you, 1, 2, 3 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar, tablespoon of Dijon mustard. We're going to put all those ingredients into a pot, and we're going to let it simmer on low heat for about 15 to 20 minutes. Now this next step you can skip, as it's not absolutely positively critical, but I like to melt down the remnants of the bacon butter mixture, and about every hour I like to go out to the smoker, pop that lid, and I like to smear that stuff around on the turkey just to kind of keep it nice and moist and keep adding flavor to it throughout the cook. And at just under 2 hours of cook time, my thermometer is telling me that the turkey is just about to hit 155 degrees. Yep, there it is right there. That tells me that this is the perfect time to go outside and put the honey bourbon glaze on. Now, we don't want to put the honey bourbon glaze on any earlier than this because all of the sugars will burn underneath the heat, and then it will just taste absolutely terrible. So we only want to do this at just the last few minutes of the cook. So we're going to take that honey bourbon glaze outside. I'm going to take my basting brush and just liberally apply that honey bourbon glaze all over the turkey. And it's only going to sit on there for about 5, maybe 10 minutes maximum, because right about then is when that breast meat's going to hit 160. And sure enough, just under 10 minutes after putting the glaze on, the turkey has hit 160 degrees, which means we can go ahead and pull it off the smoker now, because it's going to continue to cook for a few more minutes, and we're going to get way above 165 degrees. So fast forward a few minutes, I pulled the turkey out of the smoker. As you can see, not the most beautiful bird you've ever seen in your life, but I can almost guarantee if you followed these instructions, this will be one of the best turkeys you've ever had in your life. All of that meat is nice and moist and flavorful. Now, if those legs are bothering you, you don't like that smoky kind of burned up look, you can cover the legs and the wingtips with aluminum foil and kind of keep that from happening. But for me, it doesn't really bother me that much. It's just an added step I don't feel like taking. But the rest of that meat is cooked perfectly, and it is going to taste amazing. Well, everyone, that's pretty much my entire process of making the most amazing smoked turkey of all time. I really hope you found these tips and tricks to be helpful, and I hope that your next turkey is both moist and delicious. This is Trooper 134 signing off. I hope you have a wonderful holiday season, and we'll see you on down the trail.